Africa, a huge continent with a huge wealth of natural minerals and resources, and a place that has seen its fair share of exploitation, from colonialism to occupation. The people of Africa have seen their asses bled dry by Western and global North corporations, so why then is the practice still ongoing? However, there's a devastating side effect to the exploitation of African resources, and none more so than the oil industry, which in Africa sees multiple foreign companies drilling for oil and leaving the local population in a difficult position as a consequence.
We can't see no fish in this water because the water is stained with crude oil, and no living fish can be available to survive with this water. So the oil is polluted everything.
Furthermore, the largest oil companies in the world are solely in it for profits. And of course, with this comes a whole host of court cases that have been raised against the larger oil companies, many of which have seen the MNCs involved paying out compensation to victims, as well as being forced to clean up the mess, something that they rarely do, it seems.
There is no dispute that Shell has polluted these communities very, very significantly. They are living with chronic levels of oil pollution in their water systems, in their farmland, in their every aspect of their lives is affected. And Shell admits that. Shell also admits it's responsible for cleaning up oil, its own oil, and it hasn't done so.
Hello and welcome to Economic Divide with me, Kavango. In this week's show, we are proud to bring you another ED exclusive as we cover yet another example of exploitation of African resources in the Kavango Basin, with the story having been brought to our attention by our viewers in Africa. As with this story and others we have featured on Economic Divide, remember, we can't do it without you. So make sure that you write into us at economicdivide@presstv.com and tell us about the stories that matter to you. Who knows, our next show could be about a story happening in your part of the world. So let's start off by examining just why foreign oil companies are so interested in getting their hands on African oil. For starters, Africa as a continent is very rich in oil and gas, with an estimated 487.7 trillion cubic feet of gas reserves and around 125 billion barrels of proven oil reserves. Clearly, a good incentive for foreign exploitation, as I'm sure you'll agree. Of the nations in Africa that have such resources, 5 countries dominate the upstream oil production, with Nigeria, Libya, Algeria, Egypt, and Angola enjoying 85% of Africa's total proven reserves. However, there's also the issue of untapped reserves, and it's hence why Western companies are becoming ever more active on the continent. One such example of this speculative exploration is situated between Namibia and Botswana, encompassing the so-called Kavango Basin. Now, this area spans some 35,000 square kilometers and will see the operating company based out of Canada drill hundreds of wells across the UNESCO protected land, bringing with it some very serious consequences.
In this exclusive episode of Economic Divide, we were contacted by activists concerned about the ongoing project operated by Canadian company Recon Africa. Recon Africa described themselves as a junior oil and gas company engaged in the development and exploration of oil and gas in the northeast of Namibia and the northwest of Botswana, commonly known as the Okavango Basin. The company has acquired a 90% stake in the exploration of petroleum in Namibia across an area of around 25,300 square kilometres, as well as obtaining a 100% stake in the petroleum licence of Northwest Botswana, covering around 9,900 square kilometres of land. It's been estimated that a total of 120 billion barrels of oil lie underneath the coveted area, an estimate delivered by the leading geochemist Daniel Jarvie of Recon Africa. Whereas there's no doubt that the potential of the oil field is huge in terms of economic advantages for the company drilling, and also for the area, where the creation of jobs will be a key factor. On top of the economic advantages for both Botswana and Namibia, there's also some negative factors that must be considered. One of the main methods of extracting oil is through the controversial method of fracking, which requires huge water resources to achieve. However, based in a desert area, this precious commodity is already something that's hard to come by. Whereas the project's been approved by various authorities across Namibia and Botswana, with an environmental clearance certificate being granted, concerns are also being raised about the land, which is home to around 63,500 San people, a native group of bushmen living in the area, and is also one of the main migratory routes for many of Africa's wildlife, including endangered species, from African elephants to the famous African painted dog. One prominent scientist from Cape Town in nearby South Africa has stated that the project being taken on by Recon Africa is nothing more than neo-colonial extraction of the worst sort, showing how yet again foreign entities are milking Africa of its natural resources.
So, just what are some of the negative effects of oil exploration in Africa? As we know, the impact on water supply is a huge issue, with fishermen already seeing a significant reduction in water quality, which in turn is having a direct effect on the marine life living around the African plateau. Between the years 1976 and 1997 alone, there were some 5,334 oil spills on the Niger Delta alone, equating to some 2.8 million barrels of oil. But add that onto modern-day spillages, as well as those before 1976, it is estimated that some 13 million barrels have been dumped into the Delta, bringing with it a devastating impact on the environment. Politics also play a huge part in the African oil industry. For example, Libya, which is Africa's largest oil-producing nation, seeing its oil wealth dry up following the death of Gaddafi. The nation, which used to rely on oil for 70% of its national income and 90% of its exports, has seen $100 billion lost due to the civil war.
Until its demise following the overthrowing of dictator Muammar Gaddafi, Libya was the leading producer of oil and gas in Africa. However, events took a turn for the worse for the Libyan oil industry, with reports now suggesting that production has all but stopped, as infighting continues across the country. In stepped Nigeria then, as the continent's largest oil-producing nation, which in 2019 saw the West African country produce some 2.1 million barrels of oil per day. Nigeria joined the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, in 1971, becoming the 11th nation to do so, and with its current production, sees Nigeria as the 8th largest oil production nation in the OPEC agreement. But like many other African nations, it's the presence of foreign oil companies that sees Nigeria such a popular destination for the MNCs across the world, all keen to get their hands on the precious resource.
Le Nigeria, c'est un pays très important pour Total. C'est un pays où Total est implanté depuis 60 ans. Pas uniquement d'ailleurs dans la production de pétrole et de gaz, mais aussi dans la distribution de carburant. Donc on est fidèle à notre vision qui est pas simplement de produire de l'énergie, mais qui est d'amener de l'énergie aux personnes.
Yet much like other oil-producing nations in Africa, and in fact across the world, there's a consequence to pay for the production of oil, namely the environment. For many people in Nigeria, natural resources are a way of life, be it through the production of food on an agricultural basis or the fishing of the waters surrounding the nation, all are vital for the daily lives of many. Yet, oil production and drilling is taking its toll on those reliant on such resources.
It has destroyed the whole environment. Commercial life in the creek might not be possible. Aquatic life is destroyed.
Whereas many oil companies in Africa claim they're taking precautions when it comes to polluting the environment, the 13 million barrels of oil spilt on the Nigerian coastal waters alone is a legacy of just how bad the pollution and the environmental issue is.
Joining me in the studio in this exclusive episode of Economic Divide is Ina Shikongo. Ina Shikongo is an activist from Namibia who is fighting to raise awareness of the project that's taken on by Recon Africa. Ina, many thanks for being with us in today's episode of Economic Divide. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So first up, tell us about why you have taken a stance against Recon Africa. I mean, what are they doing to the land in Botswana and Namibia, and what are they looking for?
Recon Africa is a Canadian-US company that wants to start oil explorations in the Kavango Basin. They want to start now in December in Namibia, and they are still waiting for the EIA, and then they'll move into Botswana. That's what they want to do.
Well, naturally, from
oil
what you're
and
saying,
gas exploration.
I'm sorry. Well, from what you're saying, the actions of Recon Africa are going to have obviously a devastating impact on the environment, I'm guessing, affecting the people, wildlife, and land of the region. What are some of the effects that we can expect to see from the work being performed by Recon Africa?
My biggest concern is our people, especially our First Nation people, the San people, because they are foragers and they are hunters. They heavily depend on the food that is in nature currently. And my biggest concern is when this water starts getting poisoned and killing everything, where are these people going to find their food source from? And our wildlife, yes, they are going to die. Where are they going to go? If they live off the food that is in the veldt, if they survive from that water. And there are many migrations that happen at certain times of the year, when, especially when the rain starts, because the animals or the elephants, they know exactly that is where they will find water.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. Well, finally, what are the regional governments doing about this issue? There's no doubt that in order for Recon Africa to start work, they would have needed government approval. So why do the governments approve this, and why?
Our commissioner at the Ministry of Mines and Energy is the one who approved it. And we don't really know why, because this kind of activity has proven to be detrimental in the global north. Our water belongs to our people, our Namibian people, our people from the Kavango Basin, people in Botswana, and in Angola, not only Recon Africa. Why is it that foreign companies have got more rights over our minerals, over our precious resource? Our lives have value. They do matter to us. We are mothers, we are families, we have our own ways, and we do not need this kind of development that is coming to literally exterminate our people. Our lives matter. Black lives matter. And this is what it is all about. Land grabbing by big corporations coming from outside, pretending to come and develop us while they are just coming to exterminate us.
Okay, thank you so much for that. We appreciate you coming on the show. That's Ina Shikongo from Namibia. Again, great to have you. I hope that your work and passion delivers the results that you're looking for.
Thank you very much for having me, and we hope we can stop this.
Hopefully. We'll see what happens. At least we're trying here on Economic Divide. Okay, now if you'd like to find out more about Ina's campaign, or would like to join the protest, or simply just to show your support, check out the following page. It's entitled Frack Free in Namibia, or it's on Facebook, the details of which are on your screens right now. Don't forget, we're always happy to share your stories, just like Ina did, so do get in touch with us. We look forward to hearing from you. We're about to take a short break here on Economic Divide, but don't go anywhere, as we have plenty more coming up. We're going to take a look at the situation in Angola and ascertain how oil and gas companies there are operating. Also, take a look at the wider African continent and see how foreign oil companies are having an impact on the wider region. We're also going to be joined by Saima Karimpour from our Africa desk right here at Press TV. She's going to help us in terms of what she has chosen to reflect on some of the social media posts in her opinion. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short message. Welcome to the in-depth section. Here on Economic Divide, we thought it would only be fair that we present both sides of the coin. So we contacted Recon Africa for a statement regarding their activities. I have their letter in my hand. First, a look at the area that Recon Africa has provided us where their activities like drilling will take place, and this is the map here. As you can see, complete with a picture of the site, Angola on top, Botswana here to the right, and Namibia there. So it gives you an idea about the location. And here in the insert, you can also get a better idea of where this is taking place. Now let's move on to the next piece, where we have received from Claire Priest, the Environment, Social Governance, and Corporate Communications Officer, the position she holds at Recon Africa, in which she responded to our calls. We highlighted the following points from her communication, as you can see over here. That's the letterhead, which was addressed to James Lee, the writer and also producer of Economic Divide. Now moving on to the next piece that we have here in terms of what she has said, that Recon Africa has the required environmental clearance certificates in order to prospect for oil and gas in the region, issued by the Environmental Commissioner. Now the project has also been the Minister of Mines and Energy. Now moving on to the next piece that we highlighted from the letter that we received from them. It stated that Recon Africa claims to be in full liaison with the Kavango East Regional Farmers Union, the Kerfu, as well as recognizing the importance of including no-go buffer zones such as water sources and UNESCO heritage site of the Sodilo Hills. And finally, in terms of what we need to look at here, or what we thought we should highlight, the report also stressed the importance of creating work for local and regional people, which was, according to them, important and that they used, mentioning the notion of being able to provide a significant contribution to knowledge transfer through university grants, job training, and job attachments for local people. Whereas there's no doubt that there are two sides to every story. It's also no doubt that there are pros and cons to the ongoing Recon Africa project, with activists fighting against the project. Yet, the relevant governmental authorizations or authorities in Namibia and Botswana are seemingly happy to allow the project to forge ahead.
Another major African producer of oil is the southwestern nation of Angola. This former Portuguese colony has not only faced the difficult task of emerging from colonial occupation, but it's also been through a period of conflict, something that leaves a deep scar on any nation involved. Angola is the second largest oil-producing nation in the sub-Saharan African region, also an OPEC member, and currently responsible for the production of around 1.37 million barrels per day and around 17,900 million cubic feet of natural gas, making it yet another lucrative market for foreign oil companies. Much like Nigeria, Angola also sees the likes of Total, Chevron, ExxonMobil and BP playing active parts in the exploration and production of oil and gas in the country, sending huge sums of money out of Angola in profits, and once again demonstrating just how foreign exploitation is part and parcel of African life. However, in spite of a civil war that lasted 27 years and the impact of emerging as an independent nation, things have taken a turn for the worse for the Angolan oil industry, with the coronavirus bringing drilling and exploration to a near standstill, reversing years of work in just a few months. Angola also saw one of the most significant cases of corruption in history, as Africa's richest woman, Isabel dos Santos, daughter of former President José Eduardo dos Santos, was exposed as being involved in a corruption scandal that saw her accused of stealing billions of dollars from Angola's financial assets via Sonangol, something that she denies, yet has had a clear impact on the Angolan economy. The scandal, however, did not stop Dos Santos trying to run for president nonetheless, much to the distaste of many. In response to the debt crisis, Angola had to secure $3.7 billion of loans from the IMF and currently owes billions to China, holding the single largest bilateral debt in sub-Saharan Africa.
Joining me in the studio this week is Saima Karimpour. She is from our sister channel, Hausa TV. Saima, many thanks for being with us today. Tell us what you do at Hausa TV before we get going here.
Thanks for having me, Kave. Well, at Hausa TV, I'm a social media manager and a website editor. So we basically take care of websites, social media, and everything related to it.
Great, and give us a little bit of background on yourself if you can.
Well, I was born and raised in Burundi, Bujumbura. And I was in Rwanda, Kigali for further studies, university.
Very well. Okay, let's bring up the first tweet that you chose for us.
Yeah, sure.
And explain this for us.
So on our first tweet by Suez Pargin, hope I got it right, the tweet denounces the consequences drilling will have on the Botswana's environment and most importantly, the wild animals. Because if drilling occurs, then if drilling occurs in the Okavango Delta River, there will be no more grassy plains, which usually flood seasonally. And obviously, if there's no more of this, then the lush animal habitat will simply disappear. And more again, on the other hand, we shouldn't forget about the indigenous San people living there, sure. Because more than anyone else, their lives will be affected by this project.
Sure, and it's something that we've seen happen time and again in Africa. Okay, let's move on to the next tweet that you've chosen for us, which it seems like is in French, so you have to obviously explain this to us.
Yes, so the next tweet, this tweet basically, it's about the British-Dutch multinational oil and gas company, Shell. So the company have been accused of being responsible of the oil spill on the Niger Delta. And here, the thing is that we're talking about facts. It's more about 5,334 oil spill. And
that's a lot of oil spill.
Yes, it's enormous. And the other thing is that this enormous number happened in a very short period, only from 1976 to 1997. So not only highlighting the devastating impact this had on the environment, but also what are the actual unmentioned facts from then to now.
Okay, and your final tweet, I believe, picture speaks 1,000 words based on what you've chosen here.
Yeah. So lastly, to have a wider look on the exploitation topic, let's look at this tweet which denounces child miners in the Democratic Republic of Congo, because as much as oil exploitation has major impact on people's life and the environment, exploitation in other sectors mostly have the same negative impacts. So basically on this tweet, the accused company is Apple. And the artist denounces the exploitation of child miners through drawing, as we can say it, in order to raise awareness.
Very well. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. And obviously Hausa TV is where your specialty is at, but we hope to have you on again when we have some related topics. That's Saima Kerimpour here with us. We do appreciate her. All right. We're going to now move to our final package of this show, in which we're going to take a look at how oil is having an impact on the wider African continent. So stay tuned.
The rest of Africa is no different from the case studies we've mentioned already on the show. With both offshore and land-based wells and sources of oil and gas, there are rich pickings to be had across the continent when it comes to searching for such lucrative natural resources. For many of the world's major oil companies, short-term solutions aren't necessarily on the agenda when it comes to justify the drilling, as the long-term energy benefits are often considered first.
If you look at most projections or energy outlooks well into 20, 30, 40 years, it's quite clear that oil is still likely to be a dominant source of energy. So on that basis, I think we're confident that there is value in doing what we're doing.
There's also the factor of costs when it comes to research and drilling. As we know, major issues such as the environment are all very important points when it comes to drilling for oil. Yet for the oil companies themselves, the research and development that goes into scouting for oil is also an important factor, but is something that is also done with profit in mind. Yet it seems that one of the major factors when drilling and extracting oil and gas from Africa that we don't hear so much about in places such as the Persian Gulf or other major oil-producing areas is the effect of pollution. Right across the board, the effect on the people of the region, the wildlife, the water cycle, and the impact on the local economy, which can be both positive and negative, all play a part when it comes to the extraction of such precious resources.
Known as the cradle of life, Africa is also the breadbasket of the world, and with its rich and diverse selection of commodities, has been the target for many Western nation and corporation. Yet at what cost does this exploitation take place? With the displacement of people, the destruction of the environment, and the pollution of water, which is the most vital source of life, how then can foreign companies continue to get away with what is essentially environmental murder? With the likes of Recon Africa, the voices of opposition have shown us that there are ways of raising awareness and fighting the act. But in all reality, regional governments should be the ones taking a stance backed by individuals rather than, sadly, the other way around. Don't forget, we always want to hear about the stories that matter to you, so do get in touch with us by email on economicdivide@presstv.com. And who knows, our next show may just feature your story. That's about all the time we have for this episode. On behalf of myself, Kavango, and the whole team here on Economic Divide, many thanks for watching. Stay safe, and we'll see you again next time.